Okay, so that's recording.
Okay.
We're gonna start. I'm gonna cut out the beginning of it.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey everybody. My name's Nick, again, the host of the Comeback Journey podcast. Here with me today is Kayla.
Hello.
Guest on episode number 5 / girlfriend / roommate.
Roomies.
Yeah. We didn't really discuss what we're gonna talk about.
Nope.
More so I'm just gonna ask questions and kind of dig into your life a little bit, and I am going to learn along with all the listeners a whole bunch of stuff about you. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm a little anxious. That's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, so let's get down to it.
Okay.
So you are almost 29 years old.
Yes.
Next week is your birthday. You're 28.
Yes.
Excited for your birthday?
No.
Okay, well, that's all right. Let's go way back. Where were you born?
Okay. I was born in Bremerton, which is a small town in Washington State.
Okay.
It's actually, so we went to Seattle recently,
Mm-hmm.
and we took the ferry to Kingston,
Yes.
and we went over to Poulsbo. If you keep going, you get to Bremerton.
Okay.
So that's where I was born. That's where my family's from.
So it's kind of like an island off the coast of Seattle.
Yeah, kind of.
Ish. Is it an island, or is it connected by land? It's a peninsula, right?
Yeah, I think technically.
Okay. but you take a ferry to get there from Seattle.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
How long did you live in Washington?
I only lived there for 3 months of my life. I was literally just born there.
Okay.
And then my mom moved with me and my older sister and my older brother to Phoenix.
Okay. And you stayed in Phoenix until you came to California?
Yeah.
When did you come to California?
Well, I stayed in Arizona until I moved to California. I moved to Flagstaff first, but
We'll get
then I moved. Anyway, yeah, so I grew up in the Phoenix area, and then I went to college in Flagstaff at NAU, and then I moved to California. So I've only lived in 2 states technically, but I was born in a different one, so it's 3, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't moved around that much.
So you lived in Phoenix pretty much your whole life.
Yeah.
Did you
Majority. Ish. I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to living just about anywhere, right? I mean.
Yeah. What were the pros and cons of Phoenix?
Obviously, the biggest con is the weather. It's hot.
Because it's hot as fuck all the time.
It's super hot, yeah. I mean, it's over 100 for a good chunk of the year. But I don't know. You really do get used to it. Pros, I don't know. It has everything. I mean.
What do you mean?
It's not like I'm living somewhere where I don't have access to Walmarts and Targets and I have everything I need in one place, and there's a bunch of cool cultural stuff, and I really like the Mexican culture, so growing up in it is probably a huge influence in my life. I mean, I learned Spanish because I was around it so much and I just loved it, so now I know a second language, and I don't think I would have done that if I grew up in Seattle, for example,
Probably not Spanish.
Yeah, so cultural proms for sure. Pros.
Proms?
I was thinking pros and cons in the same.
Cultural proms.
Cultural proms.
Probably big shrimp.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not big shrimp.
Okay, so you have an older brother and an older sister.
Yep, and a younger brother.
And a younger brother.
No.
One of 4.
Yes.
And you're in the middle.
I'm number 3 of 4.
Number 3 or 4.
Yes.
Okay. What, so now that you live in San Diego,
Yeah.
do you have any family nearby, or is everyone still in Phoenix?
My parents are in Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it.
For reference, it's an hour and a half north of
Yeah.
San Diego.
Hour and a half in good traffic.
Okay.
3 in bed.
Okay. Yeah. 3.
No, it's definitely taken me 3 before.
Okay.
For sure. One way.
Okay, so tell me about your childhood. How this is semi-new information for me.
Yes. I don't think we've ever talked about that. Well, like I said, I moved to Phoenix when I was a baby, and then I don't know, I guess my mom dated some dude before she met my father, my stepdad now. He's my father, honestly. Like, I've known him since I was 3, and he's raised me since I was 3, so I would really just call him dad, and that's about it. Like, I have no other dad figure personally, even though I have a biological father out there somewhere.
You don't talk to him?
No, we're not in contact. But I did get to know that side of my family as I got older, so that was pretty cool. But anyways, so parents met when I was like 3, and then they got married pretty quick, like less than a year for sure.
After meeting?
After meeting.
Okay.
Got married less than a year. I think less than 6 months actually, technically, from when they met till when they got married. And then a year later had my older brother. And yeah, we've been the same unit since. They didn't have any more kids after that, and my dad didn't have any kids before the marriage or anything, so it's just the 6 of us is like my core family.
So you and your older brother and your older sister all have the same father?
Right, and then Danny, so Tiffany's the oldest.
Okay.
She's 33, about to be 34.
Okay.
And then Ricky is my older brother. He's 30. He just turned 30. And then there's me, almost 29. Ooh. And then there's Danny, who just turned 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a decent space in age between everybody.
Yeah, it's like almost a 10-year span. But there's like a significant space between the youngest and the third, and then the second oldest and the oldest, and then me and Ricky in the middle are pretty close in age. We only have like just over a year.
Okay.
And then there's like 4 or 5 gap between the other two. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we're like spaced out, but not. So. Yeah. But anyway, and then we moved from the Mesa area in Phoenix over to like the Glendale-ish side, which is, I don't know, I guess it's kind of different now, but back then it was like moving to a nicer area. Glendale's definitely still considered like one of the nicer parts of Phoenix, but Mesa's like definitely up and coming. Like, it's not as shitty as it used to be,
okay.
If that makes sense. So it's kind of like up and coming. A lot of people are moving there now. A lot of people are like kind of choosing the east side over the west.
It's kind of like Santee here.
I guess.
Like Santee and like San Diego areas like used to be like,
yeah.
You don't want to go down there, and now it's like nice and like enticing area.
Yeah. It was almost kind of like you could assume like if someone was from Glendale that they like had money.
Okay.
But there's like pockets of Glendale where it's not affluent, but it's not poor. It's kind of like chilling right in the middle, and that's where we lived, and it was like perfect. We kind of had like a little bit of everything all around us. It was really nice, actually. I really liked that area growing up. I stayed in that area as an adult when I like got my first apartment and my like first house with my friends and stuff, because I liked it. Like if I was gonna choose a part of Phoenix, I would choose the west side.
Probably. Glendale's on the west side.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like northwest.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then I went to school in that area until I graduated. So.
Graduated from high school. And then you said you went to college in Flagstaff.
Yep.
Northern Arizona University. Yep. You like it up there?
Yeah. I like it better than Phoenix. It's like, I don't know, it's definitely small town vibes, but it's like pine trees and mountains, and there's like a lot of like outdoor stuff that you can get into. So I didn't ever consider myself an outdoors person at all. I hated being outside until I moved to Flagstaff, and I was like, you can be outside and not like hate your life. This is great. Like even in the summer. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to like actually explore outdoors without like absolutely hating it. It's pretty awesome.
It's nice.
Yeah.
How did you like college? Was it like a
it was good. Wait, I feel like we kind of like skipped a whole bunch. But like, okay, so childhood, because I kind of just jumped off to other things, which I do. But very shy till 3rd grade.
Okay.
Important to note. I was like actually very severely bullied until 3rd grade. And then I had a specific bullier. Very specific bullier. One person who bullied me to the point that I didn't think that I deserved any other friends or people around me at any point in my life. And then we moved houses in 3rd grade in the middle of the year, kind of towards the end, but like 3/4 of the school year. And I want to say my parents let me choose to finish at that school or to just start school like weirdly towards the end of the year at the new school. And I was like, put me in the new school because I wanted to get away from that person. So I did. And then like my life literally drastically changed because I wasn't like feeling like that anymore, and I felt like I could make friends, and I made my first friends in 3rd and 4th grade, like, ever. So I was pretty excited, and I'm still friends with some of those people, like Kayla. And you haven't met my friend Brooke, but she's definitely one of them. Like, I just made a few lifelong people.
Again, for reference, this is Kayla here right now, and her best friend's name is also Kayla.
Yes.
So it's not her talking about herself in the 3rd person.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I was like really shy. I don't even know if I would consider it shy so much as just like afraid of everyone until 3rd grade. So it was really quiet. And then, yeah, I kind of broke out of my shell and got to know people a little bit better in older elementary, and then middle school I went to a different school and was bullied again. But this time I had friends to like back me up, and I had a sister in school with me also, to like help with it also. Like, I didn't feel like I was alone, if that makes sense. And then I went to high school back in the same district with the people who I went to like elementary school with. So I was like back with my friends again. I was like kind of like an outcast for a couple of years. It was weird. Like, I just popped into a different school and then like popped back because it was like an art school, and I was really into dance and like theater and singing, and you know, it was all that stuff in a school setting. So it was kind of cool. My sister graduated from there, but her class was like 11 people. It was a brand new school, so there weren't.
It's a small class.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of kids there, so everybody like went to the same classes, like kind of together. You were like in group 1 or group 2 sort of thing. Okay. Kind of like how you went to school, like you said, you knew everyone, like because you all were in the same
class. Like the same teacher same teacher taught every subject.
Oh, okay. No, we had different teachers, but like you would literally go from like one classroom to the next with the exact same people.
Oh.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Kind of a weird environment, but I don't know. I had some really awesome teachers at that time who I'm still in contact with. I still talk to.
Your teachers?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like became friends with my teachers.
Do
I have one friend from middle
school.
school.
Do that.
Yeah. I have one friend from middle school that I kept. That I'm still friends with now, and that's Leona, and like I'm close with her parents. I've talked about her before.
Oh, that's who we met in.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. But I more so became friends with teachers in middle school, and I'm still friends with them, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like when you're bullied, it's like you don't want to be friends with your peers. You like find someone else to be friends with, and when your teachers are dope and they're willing to talk to you in between classes, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be friends with you. So that's kind of what I did. Yeah. And then went back to the same district that I went to school with everybody for high school. And so I got to see Kayla like almost every day. Like we'd see each other at lunch and stuff. We had different classes the first couple of years. And then halfway through high school, we both decided to do academic decathlon. And I actually quit like dancing. I had been dancing for like 10 years to kind of dive into academic decathlon. And that's the only thing to this day that I feel is like an accomplishment in my life. Like I worked really fucking hard on that. I would study for like 5 to 6 hours a day, like really intense.
I think that's more than I studied like per year in high school.
Yeah, like I really wanted to succeed, and I had like a group of people doing the exact same thing, like pushing me to succeed, and that was like super awesome. Like we won like over 40 medals, and it was just a group of girls. Like we were the only all-girl team. It was just like really fucking cool. To this day, probably my best memory of school was academic decathlon. I got a scholarship from it. I personally won like a first place medal in something that I was not expecting to medal in.
What was it?
Speech.
Speech?
Yeah, I gave a speech on basically like, you know how you have moments in your life where you're like, I wish I could pause this moment forever. Or you have moments where you're like, I really want to just fast forward to where I'm here, or you have moments where you're like, wow, I wish I could go back and redo that, etc., etc. So my speech was like basically started out like that, and then went into why it's not good for you to pause, to fast forward, to rewind, but to just live in the moment instead. So yeah, it was a pretty good speech actually.
You still have it?
I probably do in a box somewhere actually.
I want to see it.
Okay. Read it later.
Okay, so you said you got a scholarship from academic decathlon.
I did.
Did you use that to go to NAU?
I did.
What was the scholarship in?
It was literally just a merit scholarship. It was just like a lump sum of money that they gave to me for school, like into my account.
Cool.
Yeah, it was like $1,000 a semester or something. It covered my books.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
And then it was nice. But it was good. And then I went to NAU. I was the first in my family to like do the whole like go to college and live in a dorm thing. And I think my parents
Your older
and I
sister
were,
and older brother did not do that.
Okay. My parents and I were just bewildered, like we did not understand the process, and I was like, help, and they were like, giant shrug, like, ask your cousin, because my cousin went to college, but that didn't help me at all because he got a full ride. It was like very different. He didn't have to do the whole like FAFSA and all that stuff, and like, you know, it was kind of like just easier. I don't know, but he didn't know how to help me either, so I just kind of figured it out, and I just went to different counselors and was like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. And they helped me, so yeah, but it was cool. It was definitely kind of a crazy time, but it was good.
Crazy how?
Crazy, like, because I felt like all at one time I was learning how to like be independent and an individual without anyone around me. Like I didn't have my best friend, I didn't have my family, I didn't have anyone really to like.
Were you like very sheltered growing up?
Yeah, super sheltered. Like I don't know, it was half my parents were really strict and half I was like strict on myself. And my parents were like, no drinking, no, you know, going out with your friends. I wasn't allowed to ride in anyone's car that was like my age, except for Kayla was the only person that was allowed to drive me anywhere outside of my parents. And if I was going to a friend's house, my parents had to like meet their parents even as I was like about to graduate high school. Like, to be fair, like my siblings kind of fucked it up, like, so I understand why they were so strict.
Because they got in trouble?
Yeah, because they were like the troublemakers. Even though I was like keeping good grades and whatever, it was still like everyone has the same rules no matter what, and like to them that was like fair. So it was definitely like equality over equity sort of situation. But I was also strict on myself. Like I wouldn't wear like any shorts. Like I would wear like long skirts, and I would only wear like sleeves. Like I was very modest and very like school first, friends second, and like I didn't drink or use any drugs or anything in all of high school and most of college. So when I got to college, it was like, wow, this is a lot all at one time, and I just like started experimenting with different freedoms. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna try pants and capris and shorts and like wearing different things that I normally wouldn't like let myself wear because I wasn't around the people that I grew up with, so I felt like I could like try to be a new me, you know?
Okay.
It was interesting. It was like big time of growth.
You had to have like broken out of the box more than like wearing different clothes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I lost my virginity while I was in college, and that was like very scary. Sex in general was like taboo for me. I was like, let's not talk about it, let's not think about it, I'm definitely not doing it. Like I was like terrified. So I did that, and I experimented with like time management and various sleep schedules, and I like tried different like types of art, and I don't know, I just kind of like delved into things that my friends were interested in to see if I liked it. Different clubs in school. I was like super heavily involved in all the dorm activities. I got myself a job on campus so that it would pay for like my room and board, so that I didn't have to like worry as much financially, because I was like struggling my sophomore year because that scholarship, that $1,000 sounds like a lot, but like
not for college.
For college, that's basically like, here's $25, and you're like, cool, now the other $3,000, you know, it's like.
So you had like student loans to like help cover the cost.
Yeah, so I took
housing
out
and like did that also cover the cost of like food and?
Well, I took out student loans my first and second year, and halfway through my second year, I got the RA position, resident assistant. So I was like in charge of the people in like the freshman dorm, but I was a sophomore, so I was like overseeing a bunch of freshmen, but living in the dorm. And so because I was doing that, they paid for my dorm room and my food. Oh. So then the student loans that I took out were just to cover tuition and like books and stuff, whatever my scholarship didn't cover. So I have significantly less probably student loans than most people would going to school 3 years, which is nice. Like I think I only owe like 18 grand, which is not bad at all. Most people would owe over 30 or 40 in that amount of time. So yeah, not so bad considering.
What was your major?
Well, little innocent, naive Kayla thought that humanities major meant I was going to be a humanitarian. I very quickly learned that was not the case. Humanitarian degree means you want to be like a librarian or like a historian, essentially. So I had like a poop ton of history classes, and I was like, why am I learning so much history? Like, do I need this to like help people? I just wanted to help people was like my goal. And then I met with my academic advisor, and they were like, you are in the wrong major for that. I was like, okay. And they were like, let's talk about what you want to do. And so then it was kind of like, to me, I was like, I'm really good at connecting with people and like teaching people. So I went into an elementary education degree with an emphasis in ESL because I wanted to like teach kids how to speak English, basically.
ESL is English as a second language.
Yes. And then after I went to school a little bit longer, I
what language? Any language could be their first language. And, okay, so like you could get somebody that's like speaking Mandarin or Farsi and you're trying to teach them English.
And I can teach them English without knowing their first language.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I liked about it. It's like such a fascinating concept that I can teach somebody something without us having anything in common.
Yeah.
Other than being human and like interacting.
Yeah, I feel like that would be difficult.
Yeah, but it's super rewarding, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. I liked it. I actually really liked the program. I just, when I got into the like teaching aspect of it and I was actually in a classroom, it was much different than the classroom that you learn about in college, if that makes sense.
So like in class, they're telling you like, oh, this is what it's going to be like in the classroom. And then you get to the classroom and it's like not what you were expecting.
Right. Literally, completely. And there's, especially in Arizona, there's just like so many politics and red tape and shit to deal with. And on top of that, you're paid like nothing. I mean,
like what?
Like $30,000 to $35,000.
No, I mean like the red tape and.
Oh, like for example, you'd be like, I really want to do this lesson plan, and they'd be like, you can do the lesson plan except for that part and that part because that goes against this code of ethics that we have at this school, which are mandated by the state. Or it would be like, yeah, you can teach that, but make sure you teach to this test. Basically. So they'd like basically be like, that lesson plan is cool, but here's the one you should be using.
Like basically like you could do this, but make sure like above all our requirements are met.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, these tests are bullshit. Like they're first of all racist, like they're super biased, like culturally, if that makes sense. So like if you grew up, first of all, in the United States or as a middle-class citizen or like white especially, the questions would be very easy because they'd almost be like common sense. But then if you didn't grow up, 1, in the United States, 2, in middle class, or 3, as a white person, like it might be really hard for you to answer those questions, and that's not anything that you can control. So I don't know, I started to learn more about like the biases in standardized testings and stuff, and it just made me feel like that's not something that I want to be a part of. And to be a teacher in Arizona, you almost have to be a part of it. And I was like, I'm out. So I just decided not to do that anymore.
So what did you do after that?
I stopped going to school, but I kind of had that realization after I stopped going to school. So.
Okay. Why'd you stop going to school?
Well, I struggled really hard, like mental health issues. I was just not in a good place by my freshman year. I started to have like really severe like ups and downs, and then I had college like forced me to go to therapy for it because I had harmed myself on campus, and that was breaking the rules. You couldn't harm anyone, including yourself, in a college dorm. So I broke their rules, and they said, you're on a probation. If something of similar nature or anything around that happens again, like you'll be asked to leave NAU, basically. And they were like, you also must complete these courses of counseling. So I went to the counseling, and that's where I was diagnosed bipolar. And it took me probably 5 years to like really believe that. I was like, okay, whatever. Like,
how old were you when
basically
that
you're
happened?
just saying that. 22.
Okay.
Yeah, 22. So I was like, well, I'm not in a good place. physically, mentally, financially, and I'm kind of feeling like this is not a career that I want, so like school doesn't feel like the place for me right now. So I called my mom and I had her come pick me up, and she moved me down to Phoenix. So yeah.
Just like that?
Just like that. Like in the course of 3 days.
What'd you do after that?
I moved to Phoenix in with one of my cousins, had a house with a couple extra bedrooms, and my mom asked her if I could stay there because my parents were moving to California. So they were like...
Your parents have been in California for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like, we're moving to California, but you want to move back to Phoenix. Like, what should we do? Like, we can't really, like, help you in that way, but, like, let's get you set up so that you have somewhere to be.
Okay.
So I moved in with my cousin for 5 months.
Okay.
Ish. And that didn't go very well.
Why not?
Because I was living with her and it was actually going okay, and it seemed like we kind of had a mutual understanding of like, we're both not really in a great place, but like, let's get through it together. So she knew like going into it that I had been having like struggles and that I was, you know, dealing with mental illness. And I knew going into it that she herself had dealt with mental illness and her own struggles. So it's kind of like, let's live together and figure it out. And we would have actually really nice talks and stuff. Like on our ways, she would give me a ride to work and we would talk and it was cool. But she was like majorly obsessed with this dude who lived in Texas that had a fiance. And he majorly led her on and continued the friendship that they had that was like ridiculously over the top flirty, even though he had a fiance kind of thing. And then he came out to Arizona to visit her and brought a friend with him. And we had like a house party to like welcome him or whatever, and like a couple of my cousins came and Kayla came. And his friend that night snuck into my room and sexually assaulted me. And I walked however many miles it was to Kayla's apartment that night, like literally barefoot, like zombie mode, kind of in shock, to her door, and I couldn't really like get the words out to explain what happened to me, but like they got the gist, like they could figure it out by the way I was acting. And so they told Sandy, who's my cousin, and that guy denied everything, of course, and she believed him. So I was like, well, if that's like the choice that you want to make and you want to like, you know, believe him over me, who you've known your whole life, then I don't want to live here. So I went and crashed on Kayla's couch for like, I don't know, a month or so, and then me and her boyfriend at the time got our house together in Phoenix, and then we lived together for a little bit. For like 3 years we lived in a house together, me and Kayla. It was pretty awesome, actually.
Did you like call the cops about this incident or anything?
I didn't. It's not really something I talk about that much. In fact, I haven't really told a lot of people about that. But I don't even know what his name was, honestly. And it was like, I didn't feel like I was going to be believed, and I didn't have any way to prove it, and I didn't really know what to do. So I just kind of numbed out of it for a long time and blamed myself for a really long time. And yeah, so I don't know, I just kind of decided that we don't live in the same state, so like the chances of me ever seeing that person again are like pretty slim to none. So I just was like, I'm just gonna handle it on my own, which was probably a terrible idea, but that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah. So moving past that.
Yeah.
You moved in with Kayla.
I did.
And her boyfriend.
I did.
In a house.
Yes.
In Phoenix.
Yeah. And at that time, it was like so great because I just needed a place to be with like somebody who I trusted and like I knew without a doubt loved me no matter what and would always take my side, because I was missing that from my cousin and I thought I had it. So I was a little shook from that. Like trust was not a thing for a while with anyone, except for Kayla, pretty much. She was like the only person that I really trusted. So we moved in together and I felt like pretty good when I got a job. And I didn't have a car. Actually, I had never had a car. I didn't get my first car until I was 24.
24 years old?
Yep, I got my license when I was like 23.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I
couldn't imagine.
Late bloomer.
I was like raring to go. I turned 15 and a half and I was like, let me get my permit.
I know. I just, especially in Flagstaff and going to school and living on campus, I didn't have a need for a car. You could walk anywhere you needed to go, and if I needed to go somewhere outside of campus, even that was either very walkable or a super short ride. I could just ask a friend. So, I don't know. And then, like, I dated, obviously, a few people along the way, and, like, most of them had cars. So, I never really had to, like, have my own car. And then when I moved to Phoenix and I was living with Kayla, I was like, okay, I'm in a safe place. I feel like this is a time for me to get a good job, work my ass off, and save up for a car. So I did. Kayla went through like a really rough breakup while we were living together in the house.
With the guy that you moved in with?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for a while it was just like me and her kind of like against the world, and it was super fun. We had a really good time. And then obviously like we both dated, and I met someone, and then she met someone, and she's still with that someone, Luis. Now they're engaged, so I'm super happy for them. And then I eventually moved out, and then I moved back up to Flagstaff because I got a really good job with a restaurant. I had been working with that restaurant for a while, and they promoted me to manager, and they were going to open a new location, and I was like, I want it, because I wanted to move back to Flagstaff, and I was like, if I can get that restaurant opening position, like, one, that's a good job to have, but two, it guarantees me living somewhere that I already want to live, and three, it'll probably help me pay to move there, because I had some money saved, but not enough to just like uproot myself to another city and drop it, Like, that's kind of an expensive thing to just do. So yeah, I interviewed and I got it, and I was like super shocked because I was kind of new to management, but they were like excited about my enthusiasm, and I was enthusiastic, so I went for it. Actually went really well. It was probably one of the best decisions I made, because I again got to do the whole like independent thing, but like with a new sense of self, and like it wasn't as terrifying. I wasn't learning as much. I already knew a lot about myself. So It's kind of like a fresh start in a place where I could just like chill out and be me for a little bit and figure out my next move.
So you moved, how old were you when you moved back to Flagstaff? Like when you got this restaurant management position?
26.
26. So just a few years ago. Okay.
26, yeah.
How long were you in Flagstaff?
Almost 2 years. No, a year and a half.
Year and a half?
Year and a half, yeah, because I moved here a year and a half ago. So yeah, year and a half.
Okay. Why did you move to California?
I was living in Flagstaff, and I moved in with my parents for a little bit to just like save up some money because
your parents lived in California?
Yeah, in Huntington.
Okay, but like why did you leave Flagstaff with this management job to go to California?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I moved in with my parents because a friend and I had decided we wanted to move to Seattle, and I was like, I don't have any money, and I'm not going to make enough money living in Flagstaff paying rent. So I was like, I'm going to jump in, hang out with my parents for a little bit, and they were like, yeah, come like hang out, like live here, keep a job and stuff, but all we ask is that you like keep working and stay responsible, blah blah whatever, and like we'll help you save money. And I was like, cool. So I did, and then I ran into like a lot of roadblocks, and then I ran into a very awful person who ruined like a good year of my life, my ex. And so I kind of like backed out of the plans to move to Seattle and stayed in Huntington because I never actually saved up the money to move. I was like responsible, but I wasn't responsible enough to save up that much money to like just up and move. And I was scared, and I just wasn't ready, so I gave up that plan, and I was like, all right, I don't know what to do now. So I talked to my parents, and I was like, I don't really want to move there, but now I'm here, so like if you'd like me to find my own place and move out, like I can do that, or if you don't mind, I'm gonna stay here for a little longer until I figure out what I'm gonna do. And they're like, stay, like we love having you here, it's fine, it's cool. So I stayed, and then my ex eventually convinced me to move to San Diego, and we broke up like really shortly after, and then I met you. Yeah, and here we are.
Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit.
Okay. Wow, that was like literally my whole like timeline.
That was the point. That was what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so who were you gonna move to Seattle with?
Rochelle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is like a friend you've had for a long time.
Yeah, Rochelle and I met in my first elementary school, but we weren't friends. She just knew who I was, and I loved her from afar because, again, I wasn't in a place where friendships were a thing. So I was like still attached to that bully that I had, who went to school with me and watched every move that I made.
Is this like a adult or?
No, she was my age. So
obsessive person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we knew each other from school, and then I moved to the different elementary school and then a different middle school, but then went back to that same district for high school. We met up again.
Okay.
Freshman year, we had a math class together, first period, and I turned around and I was like, oh shit, and I was like, I know you, and she was like, oh my god, I remember you, and we had that moment of like, I know who you are, but I don't know you, but like I'm super glad you're in this class with me kind of moment, and then we just became really good friends. And then like in adulthood, like when I moved to Flagstaff and came back, we kind of like lost touch a little bit. And then I was talking about her with my mom, like, oh, I wonder what happened to her 2013 or 14, somewhere in there, 15 maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the middle teens of the 2000s. I was talking about her with my mom, and then literally the next day she added me on Facebook. And I was like, well, if that's not a freaking sign, I don't know what is. So I added her, and I was like, dude, I was just talking about you the other day. Like, how are you? And she had worked at a pizza place with my sister. Her sister was close to my sister's age. Like, my mom knew her mom. Like, we just had, like, kind of, like, known around each other for a long time.
Okay.
And then we met up at a Starbucks, had, like, a super long conversation, and, like, we were like, wow, we need to be best friends. And since then, we've been, like, inseparable besties. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
So you were going to move to Seattle with her?
Yeah.
And did she move to California with you?
No, she stayed in Phoenix. She's been in Phoenix, actually.
Okay.
So.
She's still in Phoenix?
Yeah, she's still in Phoenix. She lives with a roommate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you're here in San Diego.
Now I'm here.
And we live together. Pretty crazy.
I know. I'm sweating.
Are you?
Yeah.
Nervous?
It's like that's just so much to like just regurgitate, you know?
Yeah. I know.
Obviously some of it's a little intense, so.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the point. I don't know. Because we had talked about it beforehand, and you were like, do you want to like discuss some of this beforehand, or you just want to do it on the podcast?
Yeah.
I like thought about it for a few days, and I was like, fuck it, let's just do it on the podcast.
Yeah, because you said, you know, let's do it like interview style, and we'll talk about like, you know, you growing up and whatever. And I was like, okay, I'll keep it light. And you were like, no, don't. And I was like, are you sure though? You know, because like heavy shit happens in life, and I've had a lot of heavy shit happen to me, so it's like
I can relate.
It's crazy. Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah. Good stuff though.
So like how are you feeling now? Like with like what are you doing in life right now? Like since like since
where my head is
since you moved to San Diego and like we started hanging out in like mid-February. It was like the first time we actually like hung out for the first time. Like since then, what have you been doing? Like what's your life been?
Well, I've been obviously building a relationship with you. I've been kind of like in and out of therapy, and I've had actually one job since I moved here, and I've had a couple of different ones. Now I'm securely in 2 jobs. I started at a restaurant that was just opening in Mission Hills, and then just kind of stuck with that and tried to get other second jobs until I found my coffee shop that I work at now.
What coffee shop do you work at?
Better Buzz.
Better Buzz.
Yes, and so now I'm a set schedule at Fort Oak, the restaurant, and then I work whatever hours they give me at Better Buzz, and until Carmelina opens, which is the next restaurant that my restaurant group is opening. So I'm gonna jump in and do the opening with them, which I'm pretty excited for. And I'll be serving, which will be nice because right now I'm just expediting, which is cool, but it's not the best money you can make in a restaurant.
I feel like it's beneath you.
I don't know if it's beneath me. I mean, I'm good at it. It's definitely a skill set that suits me.
You were also really good at management.
Yeah, that's true. The problem I have with working for a company and being in management, and even with Better Buzz or anywhere that I work, is that my moods are so all over the place. And so to work at a place like Better Buzz, where my mood is expected to be consistently upbeat and happy, is really hard. Because
are you in a position of management at Better Buzz?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a supervisor. Because, like, I mean, you live with me, so you know my moods are not always, like, happy and upbeat. Like, I have days where it's just, like, a struggle to even get out of bed. So, like, to pretend that I'm peppy and happy at work is hard, and they expect that from me every day. And I have the same trouble when I was managing the restaurant, was like, I have to oversee a staff of people and be happy and bubbly, but I'm not happy and bubbly right now. So, like, just combating that has been kind of difficult. So I'm, like, always torn, like, what job do I take that I can consistently perform at? And in the restaurant, even though expediting feels beneath me, which I agree, it doesn't exactly meet my best skill set, it meets my consistent skill set, which is I can diligently time things and communicate with a chef and communicate with a food runner without having to bear emotional weight, if that makes sense. It's like a job that I can count on myself for, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does.
So I agree, it is a little beneath me, as you say, but for right now, it's like kind of good for me. It like makes sense for me, so I'm happy with it.
So the restaurant group that owns that restaurant, they're opening a new one.
Yes.
You're gonna be a server over there, and then what? Do you have any like long-term plans? Like, what are your 5-year plan?
5-year plan. My personal goal for the year of 2019 was balance and acceptance. Balance myself and accept my diagnosis. And so I've kind of reached the acceptance of, like, okay, bipolar ain't going nowhere. Learn to deal with it. Like, go to therapy, figure some shit out, like, talk to somebody, like, get to a point where I feel just, like, stable as a person, so that the plans that I, like, want for myself, that I say that I, like, want to accomplish, don't feel like something I'm just gonna say. Like, I might actually do them. So, like, I don't know, my goals aren't necessarily, like, make X amount of money or, you know, live here or, like, do whatever. Like, personally, my goal is to just feel good and feel better on a daily basis, to kind of, like, get some consistency and some balance just, like, within myself. That being said, I'd love to go back to school. I'd love to
but not for teaching, I assume.
Not for teaching. I'd love to go back for psychology. I'd love to learn different types of therapy methods so that I can do, like, life coaching, so that I can help people in a way that I wish I could have had help from, like, age 15 to 25. Like, that's kind of the age group that I'll probably focus on once I, like, get into it. But, like, overall, my goal would be to, like, go back to school so that I can get to a position where I can do the career that I want to do, which is, like, helping people. And I think life coaching is the best medium for that, for me personally, because it's helping people, but with my own boundaries in mind. I make the appointments, I call the shots, like, I set up schedules. You can
structure it how you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I have a 9-to-5 office.
Right.
I can work from home. I can do it remotely. I can, you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's my 5-year plan.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to say? That was a lot.
I know.
Anything else you want to, like, elaborate on or talk about?
I don't know. I was kind of nervous coming into this because, well, that's a lot to share, just in general. But I don't think I've ever actually sat down and said out loud my life story. So I was a little nervous.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
I've never talked about being bullied, actually, ever, except for Kayla. It's the only person who I've ever told that to. So now it's in the public stuff.
It's there forever.
Forever.
It's never going anywhere.
And I thought about not talking about it, but it's like, that's such a, like, big thing.
It's huge. I was bullied a lot, and it, like, deeply affected me.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I was bullied, and it's kind of like an overlooked thing. I think a lot of people are like, it's attention seeking or whatever, to bring up things that happened to you when you were younger, but when they still affect you as an adult, I think it's such a huge, important thing to, like,
I think
say out loud.
It could be taken as, like, attention seeking to bring that kind of stuff up if you're like actively, regularly bringing it up, hoping for somebody to be like, for you.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah.
But just talking about it and like discussing things that have happened to you, hoping that like, for one, I mean, like, this is like you helping me with this podcast project that I'm working on, right? But also like, this is like, people are gonna hear this, listen to it, and like hopefully relate to at least like one thing that you said, if not like way more than that, the whole thing, you know. And that's the point. That's what I'm trying to do. And like, it's not like you're going like, or like what I'm not every week like doing something like this, like Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, like
just hoping for someone to just talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I don't really care if any. I'm like, just want people to listen.
Right.
I want people like to come on here, like on this podcast, and talk with me about stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want other people to listen.
Right.
And
when I was back and forth with myself about whether I was going to talk about that and like my soul and like just, you know, momentous moments that I haven't shared with like even, for example, like my parents and my siblings, I was like, should I say it? Like,
what haven't you shared with them?
I've never told anyone that I was like severely bullied until 3rd grade. I think everyone just assumed that I was shy because I was a shy person.
Your parents don't know?
No. So I was back and forth because I was like,
how did
I want understanding and I want other people to feel understood. So if I talk about it, then I get both.
So this, like, the person that bullied you, they never like came over to hang out at your house, or like it was more so like, how did you find yourself in this situation?
To talk about that exposes the bully, who is not necessarily still a part of my life, but kind of still a part of my life.
How's that?
Fuck it.
But okay.
No, I'm just gonna say it because
you don't have to say it if you don't want to.
This is the point. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's like, if I want to reach a level of like being understood / having someone else maybe be like, holy shit, I'm not the only one, right? Then you have to say it. You gotta like,
I agree.
Let it out. You gotta be vulnerable. Anyway, so lived in a house 2 houses down was another family, a mom, dad, 2 girls.
Okay.
Older sister was best friends with my sister. Younger sister was my bully. And the mom, the mom all the time was like, yeah, you can hang out, Alicia, you can hang out with Tiffany if, you know, the other sister had someone to hang out with. So that obviously ended up being me. And I never felt like it was right for me to be like, absolutely not, because I'm like the catalyst of whether my sister gets to hang out with her friend or not. And their mom was kind of weird and like kind of in a fucked up way legit meant like, no, if she doesn't have someone to hang out with, you can't go.
Like, don't leave your little sister out.
Yeah.
If she can't hang out with somebody, you can't hang out with somebody.
Yeah.
That's what the other kids'
so
parent was saying.
That sister would go to my house all the time, and I would always end up going to the other house because me and my sister shared a room. Like, they want their own space, their own time, which I get, whatever. Or they go hang out with their friends wherever else they were going.
But you had to hang out with the other sister.
I had to hang out with the other sister, and 9 times out of 10, that same mom that was like, Tara has to have someone hang out with, was like, I'm gonna go, and just left us there. Alone. Just me and her. I mean, she probably didn't know that her daughter was an evil fucking person, but she was an evil fucking person and did awful things to me, toward me, whatever. Like, she said mean things, did mean things, like, in every way bullied me. And like I said, we went to the same fucking school, so it was like I couldn't escape her, ever. She was always there, and I was always wondering, like, if she's watching me, or, you know, if she's gonna go ask that person what we talked about, or whatever, like. And her sister Alicia is an amazing person and is still best friends with my sister to this day. So that's why when you asked me that, I was like, should I say something? Because I've never told Alicia, I've never told my sister, I've never told my parents, I've never told literally anyone.
Why not?
I don't know. It just felt like I was ruining something for someone else if I talked about it. I don't know. Also, some of it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it's like shit that you wouldn't wish on anyone. So And then their stepdad was just like weird and creepy and would just like walk around in his underwear and stare at us, and like weird shit would happen between like him and the younger sister, and like I'd just be in her room like by myself for long periods of time, and then she would come back completely different than how she was when she left. And it's like, it makes you wonder like, the fuck's going on, you know? It's like weird stuff. So I don't know, it's just when you're little you don't know how to process that. Like I didn't know how to emotionally process that, and on top of it I was like a quiet middle child who knew if I didn't say anything I could just slide under the radar, and like I wouldn't ever have to talk about it, right? It's like, so I didn't. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway. Yeah. So actually one thing that I did kind of want to like talk about / touch on in this podcast, aside from like, you know, us just talking about like my life and stuff, is like I think that a lot of times people want to say like, if you have a positive mindset, or if you can stay positive, that your life is good, or if you can just stay grateful, then like your life will be good. And I think that's very true, and mindfulness is really important. But I think an overlooked aspect of like, you know, creating a vision for your life and, you know, manifesting what you want is like, mental illness is not going to go away just because you hope it will, or because you're thinking positively, or because you meditated that day. Like, doesn't mean that I'm not, you know, like still depressed. It doesn't mean I'm not still like feeling like I have 7,000 pounds of weight on my shoulder that day. You know, it's like a positive mindset can only get you so far. So I think as a whole, like as a people, as a humanity, there should be better advice for people with mental illness to like, or more affirmation and less like, you hold the key to your future. Like, how about we just pat each other on the back and say, damn, today sucked, but you have tomorrow. You know, it's like...
Yeah, well, I think this, like, is like a similarity between, like, mental illness and addiction, which I feel like could sometimes be described as a mental illness, but, like...
Absolutely, yeah.
There's, like, for me personally, I'm, like, at the point in my life where I'm, like, I'll get in like bad moods, but I can like will myself out of them.
Yeah,
right.
I think most people can. That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's amazing advice for someone who can.
But this isn't like, I was not always like that.
Yeah.
This is like, I've been to rehab twice. I've been in therapy a lot, and like this took a lot of like trial and error and like hard work, and like I went to like 2 inpatient programs. Like moved to a different city and lived in a house with random people and did like group and individual therapy and classes, and like. Couldn't use my phone, and I was like isolated, and like, and I did this voluntarily to try and like dig myself out of this massive hole that I put myself in.
Yeah.
And you like, obviously, like having the mentality of like, I can accomplish whatever I want just by thinking I can do it. Like that's not real.
Right.
Like what's real is like, this is what I want, and these are like steps that I can take to hopefully get close to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like, I don't want to say that like by me being like positive and ambitious, I don't want that to mean that like everyone is like that.
Oh no, absolutely.
Everyone should be like that, because I was not ever like that until like pretty recently in my life. I agree. 28 years old.
I think we're on the same page about it. I just wish that like as a people.
Yeah.
I wish that it was less difficult to be honest and open about like yourself / like, for example, I would never just like post on my Instagram like bipolar as fuck as my like line and like have my actual life in my Instagram. Like your Instagram's like your highlight reel, and that's like what people expect. But then it's like you're almost painting like a fake picture of your life, and I like seriously hate it, but like I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram for that reason.
Well, here's the thing is like eventually like with the way that things are going with like social media and like you can put stuff out there and it's on the internet forever. Little by little, that's gonna chip away at the masks that people wear.
Oh, I totally
agree. Eventually, like if it keeps going the way that it's going, eventually, like you're not gonna be able to be fake because people can instantly call you on your bullshit.
That's true. Now, social media aside, then you have to get into like your friendships. Like I have a core group of friends that I'm like my real actual self with, and I'm like, hey, I'm having one of those days where I literally will just cry all day, let's talk tomorrow. And then I have other friends where it's like, okay, can I put on a brave face for an hour for lunch, or should I flake? And then it's like work, like if I'm having that day, should I call in again? Like, or do I show up and say, hey, I'm having a hard day, or do I swallow it and pretend I'm fine for 8 hours, you know? And it's like, I wish we could get to a point of like just general human understanding that like nobody is sunshine and rainbows, first of all, every day. But like, could I go to an employer and be like, hey, this is what I have, hire me anyway?
Well, here's the thing is like, you know, I think that there are 100% jobs and industries where like that would be totally fine, right? But like in a customer service environment, it's hard to
exactly. But like
you can't be like working.
That's where the money is. Without a degree, I feel like that's my best chance to make enough money to survive off it, like survive life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm in the same boat. I'm just,
this is the struggle.
Yeah, no, I feel you, but like that's the thing is like there are other industries, but it's like at this point you're already like set where you have like a job.
Yeah.
You have 2 jobs, but like one of them is like full time, and you have health insurance, which goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right. And
absolutely.
There's a lot of like factors to consider.
Absolutely.
This is like the issue that I think a lot of people have, where they're like just kind of floating along. Like what do I do?
Yeah.
And there's
absolutely.
like.
But I'm hopeful. Like I mean, like I said, my goal for this year was like to like find some kind of balance, whatever that looks like, and accepting myself. And I think I've gotten to the acceptance part. It took me a while. I mean, it's like what, November? And I would say this was like a month ago, maybe 2 months. I don't know. Whenever I decided to just randomly accept that.
Probably like slightly over a month.
Yeah, like over a month ago. But like now I'm feeling like, okay, cool. Like I'm at a place where like you and I obviously talk about it, which is really nice. And I have a core group of friends who I know I can talk to about it. I've been more open with my parents. I've been more open with my grandparents. Like I'm like kind of branching out who I've decided to like trust and who I've decided to just be my authentic self with. And then on top of that, I've, you know, continued therapy after like a 6-month gap. And
right, you just started again
like a few weeks ago, and I'm now with a therapist who I really enjoy. Like she's really awesome. We just have really good authentic conversations, and she's very like proactive about like setting therapy goals, which I like to have therapy goals outside of like life goals, because it's like, okay, this is what I'm working on. It doesn't feel like too much. Like if I was just randomly talking about something every single week, it'd feel like very sporadic, and I wouldn't feel like I was progressing on any
so
portion.
There's like a linear structure of like
a linear structure. It's like laid out like until I feel like for example, I can regulate my emotions and have healthy relationships with like good communication and boundaries, then we'll tackle like my inability to focus and my highs and lows, and should I try medication and like all the other stuff. It was like, I don't want to talk about all of that every time we talk, because we're gonna have 5-minute increments of each thing one time a week.
You want to like go like, let's solve this before we go to the next thing.
Yeah, and like that was her idea, and I was like, that sounds manageable and doable, and like a sigh of relief all around. Like, yes, let's do that. So it's like nice. It's like structured, and I feel good, and I feel like working on that will help me work on stuff outside of that, and it's kind of nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, I don't have anything else. You got anything else?
I think that's all I have in me.
Okay. Well, I didn't even hardly talk during that.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's like, this is like, it's cool. I'm like glad. Yeah.
Motor mouth.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that concludes this. Whoever's listening or watching on YouTube, the last one fucked up. We didn't get the video. Yeah. I'm gonna pop out real quick and make sure it's still recording. Because I'm very afraid. Whew! It's recording. Okay. That was an hour.
Oh my god.
Like, as of like right now, it's 1 hour.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, so...
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. If you guys could, like, give me some feedback, you can follow on Instagram, _The Comeback Journey. Shoot an email to thecomebackjourney@gmail.com with any feedback or questions or whatever.
You can put my handle.
Yeah.
So if people wanna, if you wanna message me and talk about anything we talk about. Yeah.
So this is cool. Kayla. Her Instagram is @theblissfulbug. And then, that's about it.
That's it.
Cool. Thanks for listening, and hope everyone has an amazing Monday. And we'll see you next time for episode 6 coming soon.
Woo!
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.